Have you ever looked back on a choice you made and just cringed because it went wrong? Or on the flip side, maybe you praised some crazy risky move just because, hey, you got lucky. Well, it turns out we are all pretty much wired to judge a decision based on how it turned out. So let's dive into this little mental trap, shall we? We're going to see just how much it shapes the way we think.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around this, we're going to start with a really high-stakes scenario. I want you to imagine a situation where the outcome isn't just about winning or losing some money. It's literally about life and death.
All right, so here it is. A patient's life is hanging in the balance. The surgeon, they have all the data, they know the risks inside and out, they have to make the call, operate or not. Just for a second, put yourself in their shoes. What do you do? Let's see how this whole thing could play out.
So in our first scenario, the surgeon decides, okay, let's do it. And it's a total success. The patient pulls through, makes a full recovery. You'd say the surgeon made a fantastic decision, right? A hero.
Now let's hit the rewind button. The surgeon has the exact same information, makes the exact same call to operate, but this time, the patient tragically dies on the table.
So, this is the million-dollar question. The information was identical. The thought process was identical. The only thing that changed was the outcome, which was really just down to chance. So, was the decision in scenario B suddenly a worse decision than the one in scenario A?
If you felt yourself judging that surgeon a little more harshly the second time around, hey, don't worry, you are not alone. You just walked right into a really powerful cognitive bias. Let's put a name on this thing.
And this is really the heart of the matter. We make this mistake all the time. We evaluate a past decision, but we do it knowing how everything turned out. We're basically judging the choice with information that the person making the call didn't have at the time.
So, to put it simply, outcome bias is when we judge how good a decision was based on the result, instead of on the quality of the thinking and the information they had when they actually made the decision.
Now, people get this mixed up with hindsight bias all the time. They're related for sure, but they're different. Hindsight bias is that, oh, I knew it all along feeling, where we trick ourselves into thinking an outcome was obvious from the start. Outcome bias is different. It's specifically about putting way too much importance on the result when you're judging the quality of the decision itself.
And believe me, this isn't just some abstract thought experiment. This bias pops up absolutely everywhere. It shapes how we see performance in sports, in business, even in our own day-to-day lives.
So let's take this out of the operating room for a second and put it on the soccer field. Picture this. It's a huge game. A player takes a really tough, low-probability shot at the goal. And it just clangs right off the post. So unlucky. But here's the crazy thing. Studies show that if that exact same shot had gone in, maybe just by an inch, pure luck, coaches and reporters would have rated that player's entire game as being way better. Same shot, different outcome, completely different evaluation. It's wild.
And it's not just about the players. Even the experts, the coaches, fall right into this trap. They are way more likely to tear up a perfectly good game plan after a loss, even if that loss was just because of a bad bounce or some other random factor completely out of their hands. You can just imagine how this plays out in the business world, right? A solid strategy gets thrown out after one unlucky quarter.
Okay, so knowing this bias exists is one thing, but what do we do about it? How do we actually fight back and learn to judge decisions more fairly, not just for other people, but for ourselves too?
We've all heard this one, right? This famous phrase. It's pretty much the perfect motto for outcome bias. It says, hey, if you got the result you wanted, who cares how you got there?
But we've got to stop and ask, is that actually true? I mean, think about it. If you win a game of Russian roulette, does that mean it was a good decision to play? Of course not. If you make some wild, speculative bet that just happens to pay off, was it a smart move, or were you just plain lucky? See, a good outcome can't retroactively fix a bad process.
So, here's the game plan. This is the key takeaway. To avoid falling for outcome bias, you need a disciplined approach. Step 1, you have to rewind the clock. Look only at the information the person had at that exact moment in time. Then step 2, and this is the really hard part, you have to actively, deliberately ignore the outcome and everything else you learned after the fact. Judge the process, not the result.
And this all brings us to a much bigger, really fascinating idea about fairness and how we decide who gets credit and who gets blame.
You see, this isn't just some little glitch in our brains. It's deeply connected to a philosophical idea called moral luck. And the basic idea here is that we often praise or blame people for things that were ultimately decided by factors completely outside of their control.
When you think about it, that's exactly what's happening when we get fooled by a random outcome.
So the next time you find yourself looking back and judging a decision, whether it's your own or someone else's, just stop and ask yourself, am I being fair here? Am I judging the quality of the choice based on what they knew at the time? Or am I just being fooled by the result?